Survival often comes down to a simple human impulse. Build a heavy box, step inside, and lock the door. We rely on the physical logic of walls to block the elements and deadbolts to stop intruders. We move to the second floor because we believe elevation puts us out of reach. But these boxes are porous. The most unsettling moments in our lives occur when we find a leak, when we realize the perimeters we spent our lives reinforcing are actually fragile and thin. Consider a place like Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is an environment of bright, modern architecture and well-lit streets. It's a city where a resident on the second floor of a nice building should have every reason to feel secure. Yet in January, a man sitting on his balcony found that elevation provided no cover. A stranger standing in the parking lot below didn't just see him, he locked onto him. He didn't run away when noticed. He laughed and promised to come up and kill him. The man retreated inside and locked his sliding door, trusting the building's layout to protect him. Minutes later, the silence was broken by heavy pounding. The stranger had navigated the stairs and was now using a knife to carve into the front door. The locks and the height didn't act as a shield. They merely provided a false sense of distance that a determined threat erased in minutes. In the remote wilderness of the Colorado mountains, the concept of a perimeter changes entirely. Here, there are no streetlights or neighboring walls, only the sheer scale of the rugged terrain. When the sun sets in a place this isolated, your brain loses its reliable data stream. Without sight, the mind pivots. Every rustle of a dry leaf or shift in the wind is amplified as the brain tries to reconstruct the world using only sound. For an off-roader sleeping in his Jeep, this sensory focus became a nightmare. Through the glass, a clear voice called out from the absolute darkness. "Hello, I see you there." It was followed by a short, deep laugh. The voice was terrifying, but the physical reality was worse. A singular, violent bang struck the rear windshield, a direct impact from a threat that couldn't be seen but was close enough to touch the vehicle. In the deep woods, you aren't hidden by the trees. You are the only focal point for miles, a single source of light and heat that any roaming threat in the dark can easily find. Most homes feature a structural contradiction. We install windows and glass doors to let the light in, but these are effectively holes in our defense. They allow us to see the world, but they also allow the world to look back at us. A 9-year-old boy was home alone during a severe storm when a man began frantically pounding on the front door. The boy stayed quiet, hoping the heavy wood and the lock would be enough to make the stranger move on. But the man didn't leave. He began circling the house, probing the perimeter for a weakness. He eventually stopped at the exact window where the boy was hiding, knocking directly on the glass. The deadbolt on the front door became irrelevant. The physical barrier was still there, but the boy was now fully exposed. The predator was standing inches away, maintaining eye contact through the rain-streaked glass. A locked door offers no comfort when a window allows a stranger to stand outside and watch your heartbeat skip from the other side of the pane. When a threat moves past the exterior shell, the scale of the environment shrinks. You are no longer defending a perimeter, you are sharing a room. One father, hearing a strange thumping from across the hall, walked into his son's bedroom. He didn't find a child at play. He found a grown man standing against the wall, violently banging his own head into the drywall until he bled, while the 10-year-old hid under the covers just feet away. This is a different level of vulnerability. The danger isn't trying to get in. It has already arrived. It is sharing your air and standing on your floorboards. Once an intruder enters the bedroom, the very idea of a safe space is destroyed. The home is no longer a sanctuary. It is just a box with a stranger inside. We build houses to protect our bodies, but our bodies have their own internal architecture, and it is the only perimeter we can never truly leave. Sleep paralysis is a state where the brain wakes up before the muscles do. You are conscious and alert, but your motor functions are completely locked down. One student, exhausted from his studies, woke to find 4 figures standing in the center of his room. They were a family, holding hands, with impossibly wide grins. As he lay frozen, they began floating closer, their distorted faces filling his vision. The human nervous system doesn't distinguish between a man with a knife and a chemical misfire in the brain. The racing heart, the cold sweat, and the paralyzing fear are the same, whether the threat is physical or purely internal. We spend our lives building walls and locking doors to keep the world at bay. But the final reality is that the world, and our own biology, can step through those defenses whenever they choose.